All right, it is now 5:15 PM, and the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners work session for December the 10th is now in session. So I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Chismar.
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
And Commissioner Hanley.
Here.
All right. Next is the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion of this evening's agenda? All right, Mike, we're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for approval of the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners work session meeting agenda for Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Commissioner Chismar.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Hanley.
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Aye.
Tonight's agenda is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. So the first item is the Town Administrator's Report, and surprisingly, we do have the Town Administrator here with us this evening. We thought you were going to be absent, but here you are.
I'm a good barometer for Ladue Gardens. Whenever I want to attend, it rains. So
man.
they can predict their events based on my inability to attend in the weather.
Maybe when you buy tickets, they'll pay you not to come.
That's true. That's true. Thank you, Madam Chair. I only have a couple of bullets of interest. So obviously, I'm sure the topic will come up in several sessions tonight. But the Christmas parade was wonderful. Great weekend for the parade, one of the largest attendances I'd seen in a long time. I have reached out to the various partners to get numbers for the events, but so far, I mean, they're still calculating for me. But our staff recorded over 4,600 people went through the Armory on Saturday during the event that took place there. I did have some back and forth correspondence with Mike Blum. From all indications, he's estimating, and by swag measurements, that we had about 10,000 in attendance at the parade. But an interesting number he proffered up for me that I hadn't really thought about was the number of people that participated in the parade or had a tangential connection to it. That number exceeded 3,000 people. So when you think about a Christmas parade in Bel Air, you think small town. That parade had, between performers and floats, and he did count people like the judges and police staff and DPW, all had a part in the parade, but 3,000 people, pretty phenomenal number that I never thought to ask him for. So I thought that was kind of cool. Very telling. So I'll have some other numbers I'll share with the commissioners by email once I hear back from Winter Wonderland, the Downtown Alliance, and the Chris Kendall Market. So some of the commissioners had asked me off the cuff about the demolition of the house at 520 Mass Street and what that area is zoned. That area, as Kevin and I spoke, is zoned as R3. The owner of the property has not given us any indication what he wants to do. We have had several discussions with him, even to the extent of asking him to leave the house up while he made his decision, but they opted to want to take the house down. So right now it's zoned R3. We know of no planned ventures for that property at this point in time. Because of our adjustment to the agenda, the schedule for tonight, and some agenda changes, I've readjusted our agenda priority for January so that the commissioners can be prepared. On January the 13th, we will have parking legislation and a parking fund budget analysis. That's scheduled pretty much by itself because in talking with Kevin and Lisa, I do anticipate a very lengthy discussion, maybe upwards of 90 minutes to 2 hours to go through those topics. I didn't really want to add anything else too detailed for our agenda that evening. The amphitheater will be moved to January the 27th. The wind sail sign regulations will be also moved to January the 27th as well. And then just in concluding my remarks, just a reminder that on December the 18th, we will have our town holiday Christmas party. So town hall will be closed from noon to 2 that afternoon in case you have any inquiries. So anyway, just a few short bullets. If you have any questions, happy to take them. Cool. Thank you.
All right, no questions. So our tentative agenda for our town hall meeting on December the 15th, which will be at 7 p.m. here in Town Hall, will be Resolution 1261-25, the appointment to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Commissioner James B. Rutledge III. I am still sad that Jim felt the need to resign, but he has to do what is best for him. So I know Mr. Krantz had sent around a draft resolution. I'm going to assume that, Liz, have you had an opportunity to take a look at that?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks good to both of you.
Yes, I think I made some minor changes about swearing in, but that was it.
Okay,
Okay, everything was fine.
all right. So we will have that. And then the swearing-in ceremony of the newly appointed commissioner. Did you have a date you wanted to do that, or?
The
I know we have to check.
the County Clerk, Michelle Karzeski, did agree to attend on Monday
Okay,
to
great.
conduct the swearing-in, so
All
it
right.
could happen immediately after the passing of the resolution.
All right, I think that might be that is ideal. Yeah, and then we'll have somebody seated. All right. Anything further on those two items? All right, we can discuss it further in closed session if there's any need, based on our appointment, closed session item. Public hearing on ordinance 850-25, amending the Bel Air Town Code, Chapter 450, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 5, meter and lease rates.
I have nothing further than what I had
All
talked
right.
about last time, unless you have any questions.
I do not. Anybody else? All right, so that'll be for the public hearing. Unfinished business, then we will vote on that item on Monday, unless we decide to take some other course of action, but I would expect that we'd be voting on it. New business, we'll have the planning department purchase of a Ford Explorer. Kevin, that's you?
That's me. That was put into the budget last year, or this year, earlier this year. It's basically the same car as Steve has. So we'll have two of the same vehicle, same color, same everything. We'll probably get into the wrong cars every now and then. But that's what's being proposed, and I'll have the final numbers here in the next day or two.
Okay. I remember when this was in the budget, there was some discussion about it, because you currently have a Ford Escape?
Escape. Mhm.
Escape. Okay, and I know, I asked Steve the same question when he moved from an Escape to an Explorer. Why do you need an Explorer rather than Escape? And the answer was, I had to get pulled out by my guys several times in the snow. And I know, Steve, you have to go out in the snow and, check on operations. But I personally, I had a Toyota Highlander. Came time to get a new car, I got another Highlander. All I need is a Highlander. I didn't get a Sequoia or anything bigger. So why do you need an Explorer rather than an Escape?
We've had problems in the past because I deal with volunteers who are doing installation of various, like the gardens, the horticultural gardens, the various Eagle Scout projects, where I'm kind of trucking around a lot of equipment and a lot of material for them to assist them. And the Ford Escape doesn't have much in the back to be able to haul things around. So that was just to upsize the vehicle.
I can also add a little bit on that. A little bit came from my shop guys. Of course, a lot of the police cruisers are the same Ford Explorers. My operations chief, Chuck Arnold, also drives a Ford Explorer. I drive the Ford Explorer, and the guys in the shop would like to have pretty much the same vehicles when they work on them, so all the parts are kind of the same and things of that nature. In addition, when I had my Escape, it wasn't always the best reliable car, and so that's what they made that judgment for too.
Do we
Yes, I-
have any idea of the cost difference between the Escape and the Explorer?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure we can find it.
Sure.
We just got an estimate for Ford Explorer, I think it's 46,000.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at is actually less than that.
Chief,
I don't know what the
Is that the
Escape was.
police Explorer?
It's a Ford Interceptor.
That's the Interceptor.
Yeah.
with Upgraded motor,
I'll take the
transmission,
Interceptor.
Electrical system, that's got a lot of upgrades to it, yeah.
But I would imagine, certainly, I can look up what a Escape would be, email it to you.
And the other thing was, this car's only got like 55,000 miles on it.
It's actually closer to 60, but yeah.
Okay, because it was in the spring, I think that was the 55. And you use that also to commute back and forth to work, correct?
Yes.
It's a take-home car.
And what year are we looking at?
15? 15.
Your
2015.
current car?
The current car is
Right, I'm
15.
talking about purchasing.
Oh,
2026.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Any more questions for Kevin about the car? All right. Look forward to getting that price point difference on the Explorer versus the Escape.
Sure.
Next is the Public Works Truck Fit-Out Contract. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Several weeks ago, or several meetings ago, I should say, we purchased two vehicles. One was a Freight, 2026 Freightliner, and the other was a 2026 Ford F-50. Both were approved by the town board. Now we have to upfit them, because all we bought were the chassis. So now we have to upfit them with all the bodies and hydraulic systems, the plows, the salt spreaders, the lights, and all that. And this is that contract. We put this contract out to bid. We only received one bid from Moxley's up in Street, Maryland. Moxley's has done our upfitting for the last 30 years, so we're happy with the work that they've always done. They're great to work with. And the price of the contract to upfit both vehicles was $189,000. So I'd like to bring that before you for approval.
So, Steve, would you be getting new plows with all that?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Everything's new.
Everything would be new? Okay.
Yeah. And when you get the package, you'll see it's a long, long list of items. Because
Sure.
basically, you just get a chassis when you buy the truck, and then they have to put all the hydraulic systems in, the lifts, the covers that go down over the dump trucks. They build the dump truck itself, basically. So, yeah, all brand-new plows, all new hydraulics, all new
So
everything.
even the bed the bed of the dump truck is
Absolutely.
included in this price?
Yes, exactly right. Yep.
You get a cab and that's it?
You get a cab and a
That's what we
chassis, and
right.
that's it, and they build everything right on top of it.
Okay.
Yep. This is the first time we've really been doing it like this, because our procurement team has said that this is how we should be doing it. Usually, we just buy the truck all complete, but the procurement department felt that we should buy the chassis one way and then bid out, because the Sourcewell contract doesn't have upfitting along with it. Like, they don't include Moxley's in their Sourcewell contract. So the procurement department felt that we should bid out the upfitting. So it was something kind of new for us and to do it this way.
Does our procurement department think that this would be cheaper?
I know they just, because they, it needed to be procured in a certain way, that it had to be bid out. And on the Sourcewell, we're able to piggyback it, but there was no other real contract to piggyback on the upfitting, if you will. So that's why we had to bid it out.
We did the Sourcewell for the cab and the chassis, because that's all the Sourcewell covered.
That's correct.
And then they said because of that, then the upfitting had to be bid out as well.
That's correct.
So it was bid out, and Moxley was the winner.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
But you said in the past we were buying a completed truck
That's correct.
from a different,
I think what the deal is, we've had different procurement officers, and people had different ideas of how it should be done.
Right.
And the new procurement people feel it should be done this way.
okay. Would just be interested to see if that was the more cost-effective way.
It's gonna be hard to determine that, you know?
I know, because prices change. but
Yeah.
it's, you know,
So, Sourcewell is really starting to get better with that and putting language into their contracts where we can get upfitting included in it. And if that happens, then I think it'll be a lot smoother transaction. Because this has just added a whole complete additional step on our
on
parts,
your part.
which,
right.
you know, we have to come before you twice now. You know, we've had to put together all these specs for the upfitting, and
Right.
so.
Nonetheless, at this price point, I think definitely getting some bids is the way to go.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
is- it is
Oh,
a big number.
absolutely. Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely. It's funny, because it's really running about, the chassis is half the price of the truck.
I've noticed that in your procurement, you know, in all the trucks that you're buying, and
Yeah.
it's crazy to me. And of course, with the police cars too, I mean, the outfitting of it is a huge chunk of the money over and above what the actual car costs. So it's,
And when they start these projects of upfitting, it's not a project that takes like a couple days, you know? It's like a month-long process where they work on these trucks and do a lot of welding and,
they're building you a truck.
yeah, and another nice safety feature that we have on the upfitting is the automatic safety chains for snow and ice. So before, you know, back in the old days, you used to have to get out and put chains around the tires. Nowadays, you just push a button and they automatically go in front of the tires, and the automatic chains slow you down in ice and so forth.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I like
it's a
that.
real nice deal.
All right. Any other questions about the truck fit out?
So when these are outfitted, will they be, I'm assuming they'll be replacing trucks that are currently in the fleet?
Yes, yes, Commissioner Hanley. We are replacing a dump truck, unit number 22, which is the same an international dump truck that was bought in 2013. And then we're also replacing a Ford F-550 mini dump that was born in 2015. So those two vehicles are replaced. And how we do this is we have a big spreadsheet of all the vehicles that we have. And we have it's a replacement schedule. So we try to schedule the replacements at around 10 years now. So the trucks don't get too old where the maintenance requirements are so expensive. And so it's just an average, every couple of years we replace a vehicle. That's good for the financial parts of it. It's good for us because we're always driving pretty good equipment that's not going to be breaking down and is reliable. And when we do our meeting with you, when I first sit down and meet with you and talk about everything that we do, I'll show you that replacement schedule and how it all works and so forth.
I know I've been seeing this for, some years, and the idea is to unload them before they have serious engine problems,
Yeah.
serious transmission problem, anything like big and expensive. And also, then we're getting a pretty good price for them when you sell them as surplus.
Absolutely.
So it seems
Yeah.
to be, and I know another jurisdiction had a problem because rather than do that, they had all of their trucks go down and they had to rent one with a driver
From
from
us.
the town of Bel Air. Because if you wait and then you don't have any vehicles you can put in, let's say to pick up trash or something like that, you're sunk.
Yeah, it
you know.
used to be a policy to drive until they die, and we do a lot of reading through, fleet management and things of that nature, and they really recommend what we're doing now.
Yeah, I kind of am a proponent of the ride till they die, but it's different in my household when I have another vehicle to get into, and I can
Sure.
pretty quickly procure another one if I care to, whereas you have a much longer lead time. You can't just go out and buy one at the Ford dealer today.
And if the
they don't have
town
'em.
experiences a blizzard and 3 of our trucks go down, and we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
Yep.
All right, anything further on the truck fit out? All right, moving on to the information technology purchase of the Dell Power Edge server. Mike?
Yep, that's me. Thank you very much. Working with Josh Forth, our technology manager, and the server is going to be used to replace the local file server, which is hosting department network shared folders. It's come to the end of its usable life, so it's time to purchase this one server at, where is it? $12,254. It is through the competitively bid contract with the Dell and MHEC, or the Midwestern Higher Education Compact, which is a organization that works to provide competitively bid technology contracts for their member states as well as for cities and municipalities that we can piggyback on. So that's how we plan on making that purchase. There's really not much else to discuss. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, the laptops are the same way. They'll be going through the same contract. That total, this is the laptops will only be 5 laptops for $8,395 through the same contract, and then there'll be 11 personal computers and monitors for a combined amount of $10,260. And I could easily combine those into one motion if you wanted to for the town hall meeting, but I was going to do them separately just in case there was any discussion. Yeah. A lot of the main reason behind the laptops is we purchased extra laptops during COVID, when people were asked to work from home remotely, and some of those laptops now are coming to the end of their serviceable life. And we're also going to be looking at which laptops do we potentially just not need to replace? Because some of those people really have been back in the office for years now, and maybe they really don't even need a laptop. So we're going to take these 5 we do need, but beyond that, going into the next fiscal year, we're going to be looking at what we can maybe shave off our number of laptops that we have in circulation.
So this says 16 laptops. We're buying 16 laptops?
No, it should say 5.
Mine says 16. So it's,
The Max 16.
or is Max 16 the name of it? Right.
That's the
Yeah.
model number.
16-inch screen.
Okay.
That's
So-
correct, thank you.
All right, there you go. So we're buying 5 laptops. There you go. All right. And then for the PCs, which is the next number down, the Pro Slim desktop computers and monitors, there are 11 of those. Odd that it
Correct.
just added up to 16. And
Yes,
I was like,
that is
I was like
correct.
a little confused. Okay, so those are 2 separate items, 5 laptops and 11 PCs. All right. What's
Yeah.
Josh's replacement schedule? 5 years, it seems like, maybe,
Typically,
typically?
yeah.
Unless,
Sometimes we keep some of the older ones just to have on hand for emergency purposes if something should fail, or sometimes for parts, because Josh and TJ will be hands-on sometimes and make repairs themselves
Mhm.
without having to outsource it.
okay. Any questions about any of our tech purchases for the town meeting?
No, just about the tech in general. So we have over 50 desktops? If we
For
do that every
sure.
5 years, doing about,
For
similar.
sure.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. I'd have to get that report for you.
Right.
But, we have just over about 105 employees. Not everyone has a computer,
Computer, right.
but if you think of every police officer either has a desktop or a laptop, or some may have both. Every administrative employee certainly has a desktop, and some may have laptops. Yeah.
So I was just wondering whether, for some users, whether we went thin client type approach. I don't know if Josh has ever looked into that.
We
That
have
was- okay.
thought of a thin client type of approach.
For
I w-
some of them.
Yeah, I
Some
would
of
have to ask Josh for the professional reason why he has shied away from doing that.
Right.
I actually used to work for an organization that deployed thin clients for the entire organization, and they had offices, headquartered here, but had offices out of state. And they did everything that way, so there was really no hardware on site except the little device
Right.
that they would
Like a
connect
little-
to.
Like a modem, if you want to call it. like that, yeah.
Exactly, exactly,
But, right. No, because it saves up with,
yeah.
you don't have to worry about hard drives crashing and rebuilding and reloading software on stuff like that, because it's all hell. It's kind of going back to the old days of the mainframe.
Yeah,
type
that's certainly an
approach, but,
interesting
For some
solution.
users, that might
Yeah.
work. I'll just, maybe I'll take a look at it.
We will take that suggestion under advisement and definitely investigate.
Okay.
Good thoughts. Next, we have the reappointment to the Cultural Arts Commission. I'm sorry. Oh, we're going to do that in closed session. Sorry about that. As well as the reappointment to the ECDC, Economic and Community Development Commission, reappointment to the Historic Preservation Commission, reappointment to the Planning Commission, and reappointment to the Tree Committee. So all of those we will discuss in closed session.
Before we leave the tentative agenda section, I think it would also probably be a good idea, since following the beginning of the meeting, we will be up to a full complement of 5, if we add discussion of commissioner liaison assignments
Mhm.
to the agenda.
I think that is an excellent idea because we need to finish that up.
Yeah, so that come January, everybody knows what meetings they're attending.
Correct.
Okay.
And so we don't have any committees as,
Right.
lost people there,
Right.
lost little orphans running around. All right. So we will add that to the agenda. And now to the Commissioner Liaison reports. And I will go first because the Tree Committee did not meet in December, but will be meeting on January the 14th, 2026. So updates then.
Neither the Economic and Community Development Commission nor the Appearance and Beautification Committee met, but, and this is no slight to my friends over at ECDC, in the month of December, I can proudly proclaim that ABC is the town's best committee, and I rep it proudly because just look at how beautiful the town of Bel Air looks. It's not all them, but a significant chunk of it is them, and we are so grateful for their many volunteer hours that they do, making the town look so nice.
I think the Planning Commission had a meeting last week, and only the one item was on, one was pulled off. But the one item was the car wash across from, like, Silver Mining Company, the old Heritage Mazda, and that got approved.
Current Halloween store.
Right, that got approved. So, yeah, they'll be basically tearing that all down and then coming in with a new setup. So hopefully I don't think they gave us a timeline. I don't recall, did they? So when they might start? Yeah, so.
All right. Anything else on our liaison reports? In that case, we're moving on to our staffing update.
We're about to post a police officer lateral position. I promised the chief I'd get it up before the end of the week, and then now that you brought up this agenda item, I realized that I neglected to do it today. So thank you, chief, for your patience, but we will definitely get that job posted as soon as possible. So in the past, we have posted for police officers in general, where we accepted applications from people who were aspiring to become officers or a recruit, if you will, as well as accepting applications as laterals. But for those of you watching at home, if you know somebody who is a police officer, this particular application will be seeking laterals only, someone from an allied agency in the state of Maryland or somebody even from the outside of the state of Maryland who happens to meet the Maryland requirements to be a police officer. So you'll see that ad go up before the end of the week.
All right, thank you for that update, Mike. And I'm reviewing the boards and committees openings to see where we stand with that.
The only one that I think we don't have covered for sort of immediate reappointment is one that isn't until February. So and I know that you're always on top of these things, Angela, but just Chris Street is in February. So I'm sure you've got that on your to-do list, and we've got at least one meeting. Yeah, okay. So that'll get figured out. But other than that, I think that's the only one that is sort of on the bubble that we don't have something lined up for.
All right. Sounds like we're in pretty good shape.
Well, just for the general public, we're still too short on the Board of Appeals. If someone would like to volunteer for that, you can talk to me about the duties and all, but it's typically they'll probably meet maybe a half dozen times over the year. That's a good year for the Board of Appeals. They don't have to meet regularly only when there's cases. And we may have one still working on trying to talk one person into it, but we still have room for another. So if anyone in the public would like to be on the Board of Appeals, please let us know.
Anything else on appointments? All right, we'll move on to the calendar. It is a busy, busy month. We are meeting tonight since we had to move a meeting. I know there is a meeting Friday morning at 9 that I will not be able to make. I have a prior commitment, but I think we have a couple of commissioners going to that. And then we will have our town hall on Monday, the 15th at 7 p.m.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
you mentioned the meeting on the 12th. Is that the Army Alliance meeting?
Mhm.
I had mentioned at a previous work session that Kat would be in attendance, and I do not believe she will be able to go this
Okay.
week. So for those of you who may have been expecting to see her there, she will not be in attendance.
All right.
So apologies about that.
That's the morning the morning coffee
That's
and chat?
correct.
Right.
Mhm.
So I think we have, Gavin, did you say you were going?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
planning on
and I'll
that.
be able to make it. Jake, you were going to go too?
Not on the 12th.
Not on the 12th? Okay, all right.
Right. I
So-
will be there on the 16th as well, but I have a prior
Right.
commitment, so I will have to leave a little bit early, but I will be there. It is
Okay.
a very busy month. And Saturday, the 13th, of course, is full of all sorts of Christmas activities with Winter Wonderland and Christmas in Bel Air, so there's a million things to do on Saturday, the 13th.
And all four of us will be in Northeast.
And all four of us will be in Northeast on the 18th at 6 p.m.
Sadly, for whoever will be new, they didn't get in time for the memo, but that's okay. 4 is still,
That's
I
a pretty
think,
good showing.
that's a record for for the time that I've been on the board.
Same,
Yeah.
Yeah,
same. That's
so
a
that's
a
great.
good one. And that same day.
We'll go for 5 on the next one.
We're striving for 100%. on the 18th, also 12 to 2 is the town Christmas party.
Party.
Town will be closed from 12 to 2, and of course, I plan to attend.
Certainly.
I hope to see everybody there. And I think that sort of covers most things up until
Flea
Christmas,
market.
and then we won't have any more town hall or work session meetings until the month of January? The 13th. There you go. All right. Anything else anybody would like to point out about the calendar?
No?
Terrific. All right. Miscellaneous, the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program. Eddie, is that you?
It's actually a team
A team?
thing. I'm going to go ahead, since I had not planned to be here. Kevin constructed his presentation around me not being here, so I'm going to defer to him, but I may have some comments later, Madam Chair. Also, Liz is, you know.
You
down
can
the
go ahead
line.
if you like.
Also, Liz will be probably an active part of the discussion as well. So, Kevin?
Okay, in front of you should be some, a handout, several handouts, actually. And then I also emailed them to you prior. This is the first draft, so this is certainly open to any input, any changes, additions, subtractions that you'd like to see. We did look at the Harford County's NTMP booklet for a little bit of guidance as we looked at what changes we might want to make. So if you take the item that talks about, it's basically a strike through and a bold red version of the manual. Obviously, there's no cover, no table of contents yet. We'll add that later. One of the first things we did was, if a community or an individual wanted to put forward what we're calling level 2, level 3, it used to be 2/3 requirement, and the county requires 3/4. So what we did was we matched the counties, and so we changed that to 3/4. I'm going to go through as you know, first page, second page, third page. Some of this stuff may feel like it's out of order, but one of the things that we did was we have the area where you can go outside of the point system and institute an improvement if it was desired. So one of the things that we did was add one to that, which is basically anything that is outside of the normally reviewed inputs from our measurements, things like that. I always go to the example, if there's an accident, if there's a crash there that results in a fatality, or several crashes that result in injury, that is an outlier. I don't know if the commissioners would like to have that ability to consider something that is unanticipated. And you could come up with a list of things that might be unanticipated as far as inputs to the decision for a level 2 or level 3. If you don't want it in there, I'll take it out. It's just something that was put in there as kind of so you don't paint yourself into a corner.
Is it in the county's book?
It is not in the county book. One thing we didn't have at all in our manual is a process. The process was just kind of always done in a certain way, and that's the way we've always done it, but it was never written down. So what we did is we took the county's process, but we condensed it a little bit. It was a little lengthy. We kind of eliminated a couple of steps and made it pretty close to what we already do right now. But one of the things that we did do that I really like is the way the county does it is an individual can make a request, but in the county, and that's only if there is no HOA in their neighborhood. So if you have a neighborhood that does not have an HOA, an individual can make a request, but that individual in the county requires 5 people, including them, to concur with that request. So it's not just one person asking for the change, that it's 5. Now, we reduced that down to 3, just because there is kind of an order of magnitude there with the county. County has a lot more neighborhoods. They're a lot bigger than than neighborhoods in the town. So we thought maybe 3 would be a little bit more appropriate. So in that first step, HOA or individual may make an application to the town by writing a letter. That letter has to identify certain things. One of the things that we've run into in the past is that somebody will call up and make a request, and that'll be it. Nothing will be written down. There's no actual request. What do they actually want? I don't have information on how to respond to them. So we put in information that must be in that letter. And the county has that in their manual in their processes. With that request, again, we put in that concurrence requirement. If once we get the request, the town then does the measurements that are necessary to determine whether or not there is a need, and that's where you bring in that calculation sheet, which is at the back of your manual, the draft manual. And I'll go over that when we get to that, but there's several changes to that we're looking to do. So that measurement's done. After we acknowledge the receipt, we'll keep it in there for 1 week. Up until now, sometimes it would go only 5 days. We're going to say it's got to be in there for a week. And then that point system criteria, we would meet and talk about what the results are. As part of that effort, we would review where the point systems are and against the criteria in the calculation sheet. One of the things that we had before was level 1 was 0 to 50. Well, if somebody comes back with 5 points, I don't think, my opinion, and I think that the committee concurs, there's no reason to do anything. They just don't meet the level of any kind of impact. So we rose that up to 25. So 25 to 50 is level 1. And level 1, we expanded into, instead of just enforcement and education, we did include in there, and this is not the same as the counties, we did include in there to do pavement graphics and signage, because that's kind of low cost, low level, or low hanging fruit kind of solutions. If the criteria goes above 50 and it goes to level 2, the way that the county has divided up their criteria is that they have what they call horizontal and vertical solutions. A vertical solution would be a speed hump. And a horizontal solution might be what they call curb extensions or chokers. And there's a lot more in here when you have time to go through it. The reason they've done that is because in a collector road, they don't allow speed humps. The county does not allow, when you have a high amount of traffic going through, a high volume of cars, they don't want the speed hump slowing those cars down. Now, that may or may not be something you agree with, but that is in the county criteria. That is where you would need to, and then there's one other thing about the speed hump. If the speed hump is considered something that is an option, they would need to obtain on their petition 75% of anybody who has to go over that speed hump. And it doesn't have to be in their neighborhood. Anybody who has to go over that speed hump to get to their home or go back, they have to get 75% of those folks. So it expands the neighborhood a little bit. Now that's in the counties, and it's going to be difficult to apply in the town because the town is a grid system. So you could, a lot of people could go, have to go over that speed hump. So that's something that I think we would have to massage a little bit. I think we couldn't include everybody that could possibly ever go. I think we would have to say that it's almost, they would have to go over that speed hump in a daily. So it would have to be that they have no other choice but to go take that road to get to their home, and then no other choice but to go over that to get out of their home. So, and that's how we've been doing it in the past.
Just on that, just a comment on that is like, who would determine? I saw that in there, I was like, okay,
Right.
who's the one to determine that? Because that's a very contentious
Yes,
point.
it is, and you would get a lot of
contentious.
argument. I don't want to get to the point where we're making subjective judgments on whether or not somebody is going to
Because
be
you probably have a
nearby.
lot of people who
But-
wouldn't need to, but if they didn't, it would add 5 minutes to their commute to work.
Right.
So, I don't want to take those people out of the decision-making process because, yeah, okay, it only adds 5 minutes to their commute, but that's still an inconvenience and they should, be included in that process, I think, if we're going to go down this route of 75% signature.
Right, no, I'm just trying to say what constitutes that
Right.
75%? What group and who makes that decision?
Which is why we maybe
Right.
make it more objective.
And, yeah, so it's just, and we have to, in this, we have to say who that entity, who that person is, because right now it's not defined who determines that greater neighborhood.
Right, and right now, each time we get an application, we do mark up a neighborhood. And if the neighborhood is a kind of based on a likelihood of someone going through the segment of road that the applicant is referring to. A good example might be when we just looked at Linwood. Well, we're looking at Linwood plus anybody that would have been, halfway into the secondary roads that would probably take Linwood to get to 924. So do they do that all the time? It all kind of depends on where you're going. You're going for shopping, you're going to go to Greenbrier, and, it'll go. So that is something that is, I'm not sure you can ever have an objective judgment on how, whether or not somebody needs to be part of the neighborhood that would have to sign off on the improvement. So that's one of those that I don't have a good answer,
Sure.
but I don't think
Yeah,
anybody
no.
does. So.
You can't predict people's patterns.
Exactly.
know,
You
and
just
that's
look
what
for
you're
a
trying to do
likelihood.
here by saying, who are the people that would go over this,
Right.
in this area?
So if we would,
It's hard.
we would take down the neighborhood to just Linwood in that case, and not the secondary roads.
Right.
But likely those people would use Linwood.
Yeah, I know.
If you did take it down to Linwood, you're now reducing the number of local traffic. And now you're heightening up that percentage of non-local.
Non-local, right.
So, anyway, there'll be, at some point, once the petition has been provided to the town, then the NTMP recommendation then is made to the town board. Because it's only, and what we're doing here is that recommendations to the town board for your approval would be level 2, level 3. Level 1s wouldn't come to you. You'd be informed about them, you'd know about them, but you wouldn't have to approve them. So that's something, and again, if we're putting a sign up, you guys have to decide whether or not you want to actually go through the process to approve it.
Okay.
Then there's, what I also like about this, and the county has this, is they have the way that they look at that is they say, okay, if you're doing level 2 or level 3, that's an expensive option. That's going to have to go through the budget process. So therefore, there's no guarantee it's going to be 3 months away. It's likely to be between 3 months and a year.
Mhm.
So, because it's got to go through that process.
The process, right.
I'm going on to the point system scores. I'm on page, the bottom of page 3, no real changes there. Item number 2, which is the traffic volume, we reduced that from 25 down to 20 points. And we took that extra 5 points and we put that under speed.
which is great.
And the reason that the committee thought that it's better to have more points with speed is because speed is something you can treat. You can come up with improvements, measures that will hopefully reduce speed. It's much more difficult to reduce volume. So for that reason, plus most everybody complains about speed. So that's one of the reasons. I think this, Commissioner Chismar, you might have said, what's the measurement for elementary school? We put that in there, 500 feet.
Before there was.
How close you have to be to an elementary school?
Right, before there was none?
There was none.
Okay.
And then we did change 1/4 mile to 1,000 feet. That's to match the counties. So these somewhat repeat each other, but the committee thought that that was okay, because if you want to talk about something that is the most vulnerable user of a street or a pedestrian, as far as pedestrians go, it would be an elementary school student. Let's see, going on to page 5, just clarified a few things. When we're looking at trip generation, it's based on single-family detached homes. If there is another trip generation multiplier, then that would be based on ITE trip generation manual. Let's see. We also changed under the item number 9, which is crash rate. It used to be called accident, but the cops like the word crash. And that is one of the things we changed was to make that unlimited. Because if we have 4 or 5 crashes, that should carry some weight. So we didn't change the point values, but the limits are the same. So then you can see on page 6, the line striping's moved up to level 1, and the signage. We also added some items that were from the county's explanation. Those were always in our arsenal to pick from, but it was never written in, and that's where we got, which is a speed table and a raised intersection. I doubt we'll ever do either one, but it's always there. And one other thing that we will add to level 3 that I did not get a chance to do, it's called traffic diversion, and that needs to be explained a little bit more, a diverter. So if you want to divert traffic, if you have volume problems, because we're likely to get that as a recommendation for Howard Park. So if people are cutting through a neighborhood, the options of cutting off certain lanes, making them one-way or two-way, which I hate, but that's an option. But if you want to divert traffic at an intersection, that's an option I'd want to put in here if there was needed. And there was an explanation in the, which we've talked about, we kind of know on the committee that using stop signs to control speed doesn't work, and it's also not recommended by several national agencies. So we put that in there. That's almost not verbatim, but it's pretty close to what the county has in their explanation. Multi-way stops. If you have a 3-legged intersection, putting a stop sign at every one is doesn't work. Yeah, and it's not warranted under the MUTCD. The last page has some of the changes that we did to the calculation sheet. Most of them just to clarify, get a little bit more information, clarify what is peak hour. Peak hour is 7 to 9 and 4 to 6. And then the point changes, and we also wanted to include an item in there that called for the dates of study, so we would know on this calculation sheet when it was studied. So I also provided to you the Harford County MUTCD manual, and that's highlighted, so you can go through there and see if there's anything you'd like to implement. And we looked at several other jurisdictions. Looked at Baltimore County, Prince George's County, Calvert County, and Howard County. Now, I won't go through each one of those, but they're all over the place. There's not one that does the same thing all the time. So take a look at that. If any one of you would like to see more detail, I can send you their MUTCD, not MUTCD, Neighborhood Transportation Management Plan. Yeah. And send that to you, and you can take a look at it. Then there's a matrix that we put together for all of these entities and how they treat various inputs from as far as measurement of traffic, volume, speed, things like that.
One question I had when I was looking at all this, and when we were looking at it all before, is who makes the determination whether something is a secondary residential, a collector, a local? Who makes that call?
That is done by referring to the comprehensive plan.
Okay. And in the comp plan, the planning commission does that, and then we approve it.
Yep.
Once every 10 years or so, with a possibility of doing it earlier. And what definition do we use, or do they use for what is a collector road, what is a primary?
In some cases, we'll look at what the county calls a particular road or what the state calls a particular road. So really, the ones that are up in the air, the ones that we have to make a determination on what their configuration is and are like William Street, Hickory, Shamrock, Broadway. Those are all ones that are town roads. So they don't have a designation by the state or the county. They are just what they are. Now, I will say Broadway does have a designation from the state for only a small portion of it. But
That being the portion that belongs to the state.
right,
Right, because the town has
Yeah, they
to
don't-
make
they
its
don't
own
care.
determination.
they don't care about what happens in the other parts. So what we do is we look at the definition of what a collector would be under the county and state. Does it have driveways? Is there a certain amount of traffic that goes over that is more than what should be there for the neighborhood? And you'll see something in here that was a huge change from the county. Their numbers on what they measure are way higher than ours. And so that's because they're in the county and they're measuring roads that carry a lot more traffic. So they're typically not looking at a local road. They're looking at ones that are bigger than that. I think Steve and I talked about this as we were trying to determine, is there anywhere in town where the speed limit is more than 25 miles an hour for a town road? We couldn't find one. If you see one for a town road that's more than that, like a 30 miles an hour.
I'll drive around and look.
Because
I
that makes a huge difference, typically when we're looking at collector roads. But now we're looking at traffic volume, we're looking at driveways, you're looking at the configuration of the road, the width of the road, all those things determine whether or not something's a collector or not. And a good example would be, and whether or not it goes from destination to destination. If it's a dead end, it really should not be a collector, but, right, yeah. Yes, and that may be a difference where we look at that and say, well, it's collecting enough traffic, enough trips that it really is a collector. So those are the kind of things that we'll look at when we go through the comp plan, but certainly we'll be looking at it again. And we can, if we like, we don't have to use the comp plan, we can construct our own, but it's kind of redundant at that point.
And Hall Street already has some traffic calming. It was done 25 years ago. A chicane and a speed hump.
A chicane.
Chicane.
Chicane's a bad word here.
Yeah.
Tom Street.
So that's all I got. I don't expect, there's a lot of info here, and I have a lot more sitting in my my inbox. So anybody who wants has any questions or wants more information, let me know. I'm sure I've got it.
One 100,000-foot thing before we get into what the procedure is, and I certainly think that this process, needs to be, concurred with by the town commissioners is probably the right word. I know that we had been informed that staff would like this to remain an ad hoc work group. I am still in favor of an ordinance establishing this committee. It would be a very short ordinance. It would simply establish the membership, the delegated authority, whether that's the power to make a recommendation to the town administrator would be perfectly fine. And then something about it's allowed to adopt its own procedure with concurrence from the commissioners. But I would like something a little bit more formal in terms of establishing the committee in statute, just as a first step type thing. And then we can get into the details about what the process should be.
And I do think we wanted to hear from you, Liz,
Okay.
on that.
I took a look at this and I had to get educated because they are the professionals here, but looking at the code, you can keep it as ad hoc if you like, with a set policy in place in the town. I'm not opposed to that, but obviously as a lawyer, I like my crystal clear process procedures. With an ad hoc board, it's as if these group of professionals got together and had a meeting. They are not subject to open meetings. They are not subject to a formal agenda. They are not subject to any other process other than that which the board and the town administrator sets out in the policy. So what we were sort of talking about doing was sort of presenting a policy, a suggested policy based on what the commissioners were sort of leaning towards. I have drafted an ordinance that would establish an actual formal NTMP within the code that, would adopt a lot of this material that Kevin and the group have worked on, and would set out a specific process. My concern is having an individual who has a complaint, and that complaint has no clear delineation of chain of command or where they go if they are aggrieved. As an ad hoc, there is none, right? They can just kind of what happened last time, right? They're going to come in, they're going to send you emails. We don't like what the town administrator did or the NTMP did. There is no specific process. So I sort of kind of drafted it with a lot of feedback from Eddie and Kevin and tried to take their ad hoc and put it into a more formalized ordinance where the town administrator is sort of the chair of the group. The policies or the procedures are approved by the board and they're operating under whatever policy. They can come to you. There is a clear delineation. If you don't like what the decision of the town administrator is, you can go to the board. Certain levels of traffic calming devices are subject only to the board, like the higher, more expensive ones, your speed humps, those kinds of things. So it is really up to you how you guys decide to proceed, keeping in mind the benefits and the burdens of having yet another committee, formalized committee. So that's my thought.
My understanding is the counties is an executive branch.
Correct.
Not set out by any legislation in
Correct.
the county. I don't know, do you know about Baltimore County, Prince George's?
Prince George's, when I looked, I just saw it being an ad hoc.
Okay.
I didn't see it being a part of their code.
Yeah, we didn't go too far into that, but the ones we did look for, we couldn't find any formal,
Legislation or anything?
Yeah.
How about, does Havre de Grace or Aberdeen have one?
no.
No.
Okay.
You couldn't find any other
That's okay.
Maryland municipality that has an NTMP.
Except for Bowie.
Oh, Bowie? You found
Bowie
Bowie?
adopts Prince George's.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That makes sense.
So the committees that we have by ordinance are basically volunteer citizen committees with staff support, right?
Correct.
So this wouldn't necessarily be that. This would be kind of the opposite. It would be a staff committee with a liaison from the board, and really no other
Unless you,
community unless we want to make them, but.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
wrap my hands around, this would be a new type of committee if we, is the way it's sitting now, the way the NTMP is operating now, that would be a new type of committee that we would have in the town, rather than compared to the other committees.
Yeah, but there's certainly nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Yeah. It would just become part of their duties as it is now, really.
It could be under policy, too.
Yes, that would be ad hoc.
Right.
Yeah.
So with an ad hoc recourse, if the citizen doesn't like what happened,
There is no clear delineation
There's no
of
clear-
what, yeah. So
now,
if
can
the,
that be put in policy? What they
You-
can do if they had it for recourse?
you could establish that kind of a process, but that gets a little dicey when you're trying to say, okay, let's say, just a hypothetical, NTMP makes a decision, the town administrator says, yep, I agree, level 1, the person disputes that, where are they gonna go? You could say, okay, you can come to the Board of Town Commissioners, we agree, we don't agree, but what's the next level?
Right.
You know, there is no real,
Well, we
I
have
mean-
that same problem either way, whether it
No.
was, if it's a formal commission,
no. With a formal commission, you set out the appeal process, and the
Okay.
courts will abide by that. It gets a little, I mean, and I hate to say this, but when the whole dispute happened, I'm looking at this going, they're an ad hoc. So they're acting as a work group. There is no cause of action here. And if an appeal is filed or some sort of mandamus action, I'm gonna go to court and say, Your Honor, they're not a committee. They don't have the power to do this. I gotta throw my own directors under the bus. I don't wanna do that. So in that sense, I don't like that. But if you set it out, then you can say, you know, anybody aggrieved can go to the Board of Town Commissioners. Anybody aggrieved from there can go to petition for judicial review circuit court. Or some other level if you want. I don't know who else would go. I don't think Planning Commissioner, Board of Appeals would be appropriate.
It's really up to
I know.
commissioners.
But are they experts at determining traffic? They're not.
yeah, that-
No, in
right.
fact,
Yeah.
they intentionally,
I mean,
Right.
I think in terms of our authority over the roadways, we are the final political appeal, and everybody has the right to go to court over whatever they want. You know, that's the way I view it.
Correct, but when you don't have an ordinance, you don't have
Oh,
a statute.
I'm in favor of an ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you don't have an ordinance, if you don't have a statute, then the court's gonna look at this and say, what is this?
Sure.
What- You know, generally, you don't get appeals on a petition for judicial review unless there's some sort of statutory basis for it.
And that's why I like an ad hoc committee.
Exactly.
Which would also keep it as close as it has been to what it has been historically.
Yes.
But just given it a somewhat more defined framework, which this last incident has sort of pointed out that there were some holes in our process and some holes in our framework, and, you know, those I think need to be addressed, but I think I prefer to just leave it as the,
I think it's important that it be subject to the Open Meetings Act.
That's some feedback that I had heard as well, where, you know, if residents submit a complaint, then they want to know what the status is, you know, so they could be able to see, here's what's on the agenda for the next NTMP meeting, and then they would be able to go and either attend the meeting or view the minutes. So would that be something that would be an increased cost or burden on the town, you know, to provide?
Yes, because, I mean, unless one of the staff members takes the minutes, we hired a secretary to take minutes as an independent individual who's not associated with the town. You know, yes, correct. I mean, if you wanted an agenda, they could. Now, what Kevin put together, I saw like a little spiel in there about if a complainant is filed, then the NTMP is responsible for keeping the complainant up to date with the process. I'm pretty sure it's in there. Yeah. So is that sufficient? You know, if they're not, then they can always, you know, call us or something and say, hey, what's going on? But you are correct. That is, I mean, if it was you, I'd have a problem with it, obviously, because it's them. We get together and have meetings all the time about different things. That doesn't mean that a public is invited. We got work to do running the town, so. Any other questions?
There's nothing that would prevent us, whether we go with an ordinance or not, or keep it ad hoc, to say, we'll adhere to Open Meeting Act. It'll be open to the public, we'll have minutes, they'll be reviewable. right? We can do it either way, right?
You can do it either way, yeah.
Yeah.
If you make it a formal committee, then it has to, under state law, be open to the public.
Right.
Yeah, when,
Time requirements for open meetings?
I'm sorry?
Is there any time requirements for open meetings, or can we have them at any time of the day?
No, as far as time of the day, there's no requirement. You only have to give 24 hours notice like any other meeting.
Right.
Like seniors and citizens in needs meets at 8:30 in the morning, so, you know, it's a good example of, you know, we
Right,
have,
it
we
can't be held
have,
during
we
the
have
regular
committees that
workday.
meet during
Yeah.
the regular workday, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel that it's important that that there be a formal agenda, that it be clear what the topics of discussion are. I'm not suggesting that we, you know, appoint a bunch of citizens to make up half the membership of the committee. That's not what I'm suggesting, but I do think it's
Right.
important that there be, you know, a clear way for citizens to participate as they could in any other committee.
No, I don't want to exclude anybody from the process. I want people to participate in it, because they're making the complaint, and they should be able to come before.
that
I-
is one of the, when I first got here, that's how it was done.
Mhm.
When each person was given the opportunity to sit in on the meeting and
Right.
hear the folks talking. I don't know why that kind of fell to the wayside, but it did. I think for many years, might have been a town administrator, but for many years it was just one of the things that I think was happening was you get somebody coming in there and they just wouldn't believe the results of the measurement. And it became like an argument almost. And so there is a downside to that, but it could be written in the policy if you'd like. I don't know how formal you want to get.
I also tend to think that if this isn't an actual formal committee, I mean, then the procedure that we're ratifying, I mean, I understand that I just struggle with the idea that we're concurring to a procedure from a committee that doesn't actually really exist in any formal sense. I struggle with that a little bit. I think it's important for us to clearly define in the code that we're delegating some degree of authority to these folks to make recommendations to the town administrator. Because of the way that the code is set up in terms of our final authority over the town roadways, I think it's important that we also add to the code that we're delegating this degree of authority to these folks to make these determinations and be finders of facts and be experts on traffic patterns. I think that that's important.
We could put time limits on the amount of time that the person coming to the open meeting,
Certainly, absolutely,
like 3 minutes.
certainly, of course, yeah.
I kind of agree with Kevin. I think in some of these situations, it's going to be an argument fest if we don't put some restrictions on if people come in to say, hey, you got to let us be productive in this meeting. And again, we're going to get people, we see it all the time. We show them results on Main Street of speeds. No, they're speeding. They're going 50 miles. I'm like, I just showed you the speed. And
Yeah.
they can't seem to grasp
I
what
th-
we're trying to explain.
I think
to
abiding by the same public comment rules that we do is perfectly acceptable. You know, you get 3 minutes to come in and, you know, make your case or say what it is that you feel you need to say. I think that's democracy. You know, sometimes people are going to argue and they're going to be upset, and that's okay. It's their neighborhood. They have the right to be upset. It doesn't mean that because they're upset that we're going to do what they want. But I think they have the right to be upset, and certainly I have no desire to just let any individual who wanders in dominate the meeting and sit at the table and act like they're a member of the committee. We don't want that, but I think they have the right to address the members of the committee and should have the right to address the members of the committee.
If the board does decide for a formal committee, I'm not suggesting one way or another. I've been pretty proactive in attempting to make sure that all of the committees that you guys are under control of or under code have rules of procedure. That has been a kind of a goal of mine for all of them. If you don't have rules of procedure, the chair needs to do it. They have to be published. They have to be done. If it is ad hoc, I might suggest that still, because in the case of what Chief has mentioned, if you have it in the rules of procedure before they walk in the door, they should know what the rules of procedure are and how you're going to operate. So, but again, however you wish.
And at that point, if we have rules of procedure, if we have a codified process, if we have a codified membership, if we're letting the public attend, I don't really see what the harm is in making it codified, because we've basically just laid out everything that a codified committee has to do.
Does anybody else have a codified committee that we're aware of, any jurisdiction in the state
Not that I'm aware of.
that we're aware? I mean, it'd be ridiculous to
Yeah.
check 157 municipalities, so, yeah. But I didn't see any either. And it's really an executive branch function. That's why the county just has a policy of some kind, and a policy booklet. And I would prefer to see it remain the way it is. I do think it's a great idea to include the folks that are concerned in their neighborhoods, with the proviso that, I completely understand what you're saying about, the data is the
Right.
data, and people want to argue with the data. But the last I've been to a couple of NTMP meetings, and at least one of them, there were a couple of folks there to talk, and I know we talked with another person about traffic stuff, and I really think not having a 3-minute limit was a good thing. I mean, we weren't going to sit there all day, but, let people have their 10 minutes to say, here are my concerns. I would really prefer to keep it more of an informal, the way it currently is,
Yeah.
but, keep folks apprised of what is going on. But I think making it an ad hoc committee, leaving it an ad hoc committee, will lessen the argumentative kind of, make it an official type thing, and you can appeal here and there. I'm not a big fan of making it any more codified and judicial than it should be.
And I know
Okay.
we've recently had a few little bumps in the road, no pun intended, but other than that, we really haven't had any issues with it.
I know,
you
it's really
'Cause
been sort of
it's a subjective process, and we try
informal-
to get
Right.
results at,
And I like the fact, I kind of think of it as kind of a give and take and a working meeting, that you work together to try and iron things out, that they may not have all the data, you have the data, and type of things. We don't see some of the things that they see. So it's more, a 3-minute limit, kind of like when we do these meetings, there's no interchange.
And that was the
And
problem.
I think that's what's important,
And that
is
was
you
one of
have
the-
to have
right, that was one of
that
the
interaction,
problems.
the back and forth discussion,
Right.
not two monologues. You give a
Right.
monologue, I give a monologue. It's a dialogue.
That
we're
was
gonna
the
have.
problem, I think, with our last big bump in the road, was that the information that the committee had never gotten to the folks, out in the neighborhood. And they were operating under one set of perceptions, whereas the data showed something
Yes.
else. And I think that was we got off to on a wrong foot
Up on
there.
foot from the beginning.
But if
right.
you can, that's why it's initially suggested like a meeting, so that they could
Right.
ask all their questions about and have explanations for, what does the 85th percentile mean? What does this mean?
Right.
How did you get to
Yeah.
this? So I would, that's why the 3-minute comment, it just doesn't allow for any sort of back and forth and discussion.
Right, have a discussion. And Jake, the delegation of, I don't think we're delegating authority to anybody. They're just giving us recommendations. I mean, anybody can give us recommendations. It's still inherent upon us to make the decision. So I don't think we're giving up anything if we don't go by ordinance. We'll say, give us recommendations. I welcome recommendations, because like I said, I'm not the authoritative source on
I mean,
on
we
all
are
these topics
delegating
and so-
authority for level 1 to the town administrator.
For level 1 to the town
Sure,
administrator.
yeah, just to be clear about
Just right,
that, yeah.
Right, but for 2 and 3, which are the more expensive items and the things, the more drastic items and all, we're not really
It
giving
needs to
up
come
that.
here because it's going to be a budget item.
Right, because it's really going to be a much larger budget item,
Right.
than striping and lettering and things like that.
Jake, what I propose to the committee, under level 1, yes, while I would be asking for the delegation of authority for that, it would still come back to the commissioners before we actually engage. Steve and I have talked about this. Typical traffic calming measures take anywhere from 60 to 90 days to implement, because we may not have it, we may have to purchase it, may not be weather, whatever. So there would always be a downtime where I could bring that level 1 recommendation, brief you at the work session, because I would like to add an NTMP report as part of my town administrator's report, brief you on whatever level 1 I'm recommending, and if you concur, that's good. If you
Right.
don't concur and want us to go to a different direction, we can. But my idea was never to take that and run with it just arbitrarily, say, thank you for, I'll make the decision and move on. I want to do it with the concurrence of the board. But I appreciate your point.
Also, I am going to include a kind of a definition page. So when we're talking about ADT and MUCT, MUTDC, whatever,
MUTCD. That one I have.
Right.
And I think that would be very
Yeah.
helpful, because I think one member of the community thought that the 85th percentile meant that 85% of the cars were going over the speed limit.
Yes.
And, you know, that kind of, I mean, it's a bunch
was-
of technical lingo that people aren't
Right.
familiar with, and having a definitions page, I think, would be very helpful too. But I would prefer to keep it as an ad hoc committee, let people engage in a dialogue. The last couple of meetings that I've been to where there were folks there about traffic issues were very cordial. People came and talked about, you know, what they wanted. I think one was, the answer was the usual, it's a state road, but we'll do what we can to help out on that, and made some suggestions on what those folks
Right.
could do. And, you know, hopefully that'll be better than just us asking or just them asking.
And that particular one actually went pretty well because they engaged, we engaged, and it got everybody else engaged. So there was sort of a force multiplier effect to that meeting for what they wanted to get done.
Right, and I think that's the way to do it. An ad hoc, you know, it's an informal committee, not one set out in the legislation. And they can have more than 3 minutes and actually engage in a dialogue with the people who have the data and the information and, you know, may have some ideas about what to do.
But then doesn't that leave the door open for the argumentative shouting fest that we were trying to avoid?
I think in any meeting, you can always conclude that argumentative shouting fest and say, this meeting is at an end, and so is your participation.
Right.
You don't have to have somebody shouting in your office for an hour.
Certainly,
Right.
yeah. I mean, I think we have a disagreement here. I mean, I think that, I feel very strongly that setting this out in an ordinance is the right thing to do and the right way to go. Just because it's a formal committee doesn't mean it has to be 3 minutes. You know, we do the 3 minutes, 5 minutes for a group. It could be that, you know, if you are the person who submitted the request, then you get to a different position than somebody who just walks in and says, I'd like to observe as a member of the public.
I just think these are executive branch decisions, and I don't want to see any formal appeal to go to anywhere.
So to that point, the problem is our executive branch is different from
True.
Hartford and Baltimore County, in
Right.
that, you know, our executive branch is actually us.
It's
True.
us.
And
Right.
then we give the administrative side of the house,
True.
you know, we delegate them authority. So, I struggle with the idea that we can shut off. That's why I struggle with that idea, because ultimately the executive branch decision-making still rests with us, even though we delegate some of it
Mhm.
we delegate much of it
Much
to
of it,
to
right.
our staff, absolutely. This is the type of decision-making that I still think, because if we had a strong mayor that was separately elected, I would completely agree, I would have a different position. But because of the nature of our government, I think it's important for it to be more formal.
And there we have it,
Here we are.
two sides of the coin. So
Yep.
we will
So
soldier
do you,
on.
do you
What-
want us to, I have an ordinance that's already drafted. I could do a resolution to include and send it to you both here, you know, option A, ad hoc resolution, option B, ordinance, and then you guys decide what you want to do. Does that sound like a game plan? Otherwise, we're just gonna sit here.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, think it over, read over what Kevin did, ask whatever questions. If you need anything else from him, I'm sure he's got
Right.
boxes of stuff for you.
I mean,
So-
the resolution, the ordinance would be pretty similar. It's just one's formalizing the committee, and it's kind of like the rules and processes will
Resolution.
be similar.
Resolution would just kind of say, you're recognizing the ad hoc work group, you're adopting this,
Right.
that, and the other,
Policy.
you know, and move on, and you're allowing him to make level one decisions. Ordinance is a lot more obviously formalized, and that's got a whole process I laid out as far as appeals, and if you don't like that what they did, you can go to him, go to you know, and go up the chain from there, and then just, you know, you guys have to decide what to do.
I think a lot of this could be put into the manual and into a policy. The only thing that you avoid is the appeal, which I like, I have to say. Because I think that becomes, I mean, some of the stuff that Liz and I are going through for really stupid things
I agree, and
It's
that is.
expending a lot of money.
Right, and that is why I want to have it remain an ad hoc committee. I don't think that every decision that government makes should be set out as a formalized process, including appeals.
Right.
It's like the business of government is to make some of these decisions, and I think we should just leave it at that. And still allow folks to come in and participate and
Oh,
have their
yeah.
say and have their comment and have a dialogue with folks that have the data, have the information, know what the options are as far as how to try to attack some of these problems that we have as far as traffic.
And I'm not taking a position either way.
Correct,
You know,
correct. That's a
you know, whatever
policy
you-
decision, not
You
a,
can do
Right.
either
not a
one.
legal one.
Right.
Yeah, I think the county manual doesn't call for the person to come into the committee until really late in the process.
Right.
Which is a little, I'm like, it's already decided at that point, I think.
Right.
So I like it to be very early.
Early, early.
Yeah, I kind
From
of
the
lean
beginning.
towards it
I
very
agree.
early as well, so they can tell you what the pain point is, what is, the problem in
Yeah.
the community. And I certainly think they should be kept apprised of, what's going on and,
Okay.
all right.
Kevin, page 2, couple questions or things for you to reconsider or look at. The letter must identify, you have a list of 6 things there. Number 5, which says specific requests, signage, speed hump, pavement. I mean, to me, it's kind of. On page 2, did I say 3? I'm sorry.
No, you said 2, but you said number 5, that's why.
Page 2, you have 6 items that the letter must identify that comes to you on the,
Oh, yeah, okay.
okay? So number 5 says specific requests, signage, speed hump, pavement graphics. I mean, it's kind of superfluous. What do they know? They can recommend something, but it's going to come down to what the NTMP decides.
It is, but it
Yeah.
kind of gives us what they want to see.
Okay.
Right.
We don't have to follow it.
Right, that's what I mean. It was kind of like, superfluous. So it's just, I want, yeah. Oh, that's about the only thing. Speed humps and stop signs are about the only thing people know. Right, I know. And that's just, but,
And I would create a form, I think, with those 6 things to just make it easy for people to just, have a form with your name and where you live and what you want, that kind of thing.
We actually talked about that, whether or not we do a letter or a form. The reason we had it as a letter, 1, because that's what the county does, but 2, it does allow the person to expand upon whatever they want to ask for.
right.
So they're not constrained by whatever form we're providing.
Well, you just add, if you have anything you'd like to add, please type
You
here.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I would do, just so that
Yeah.
when you do those software things, it won't let you go to the next screen until you've correctly answered the questions that they must have. I think it's just helpful for people to have a form to fill out and rather than read through all this and find it, it could just be an addition. And I agree with Jake that it could just say, anything else you want us to know.
Do we currently have an NTMP website like we do for the
We have a
other-
page on the website.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Under transportation management, we can have a separate page that has all this stuff.
Okay,
It's
okay,
probably where it's headed.
okay.
Yeah.
And the current website, does it have any information about, past meetings or items that are currently being looked at, anything like that?
No.
Because I think that's something that I don't want to do is have people feel like they're left in the dark where they don't really know where their issue stands at a current point in time. So I think it definitely would be, regardless of what we decide, they have a place to go. Anybody can check the current status of their issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
good idea.
And I've been thinking about the 75% of anybody who uses the speed hump. I think that would be hard to determine on a lot of roads, especially I was thinking of like Shamrock Road over by the Major's Choice Pond, because you figure you have Troutdale, Hayden, Benjamin,
Yep.
Henderson. Are we going to go to every single door and knock on the door and say, do you use that speed bump? So I don't know if that's really realistic,
We have
may
the
have
same
to-
concerns, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, so what we would be doing is doing that neighborhood, and that's where it would stand, and we could probably take that out of here if that's
Okay.
what you're looking at.
So Kevin, always keep in mind, we have that reverse 911 phone system that you can target certain areas. You can do that too if you wanted to do a message just for specific.
Oh my God, I do not want to do that.
Just saying. You could say, hey, Hayden Place, you can go right a little circle right around where you want to go.
Okay.
I mean,
Right. And the signatures that, whatever, however many or how big, of an area we got to go at, that's the responsibility of who? The town or the citizens?
It's the responsibility of the citizen,
Okay,
yeah. And we have a form for that.
okay.
Do you think the difference between?
It doesn't say that, but it just, it's not clear. That's why I asked that. I thought it was the citizens, but it just
Okay.
says, once identified, whatever such measures,
That's at the bottom of 2,
a
right?
bottom of 2 and the top of 3. It doesn't
Yeah.
say who.
Okay.
It's the, I guess you call it the complainant or whatever term you're using.
Sure. We're saying?
Between 2/3 and 3/4, do you think
Yeah.
that's, historically, would that have made a difference in a lot of these cases?
Because we haven't gone that far too many times. Typically, if somebody's gone far enough to get a petition, they're going to have enough.
Okay,
So I don't know if it would have made a difference.
sure.
So, Madam Chair, the committee will reconvene, work on this, and be on a future agenda. So,
Yeah, I think everybody needs to think a little bit. First of all, our first big decision is ad hoc or enshrined in a statute, so.
We might need a fifth person to make that decision.
Yeah, it's true, you're right. Might.
We might.
Trial by fire, here you go.
There you go. All right.
But we knew this was going to be complicated, so it's.
It is. It is.
That's why we're giving you several bites at the apple.
All right. Well, we have a good
I
start.
got a good, took a big bite tonight.
All right. Anything more on the NTMP? MUTCD? Any other alphabet soup that we might have? All right, staff comments. Mr. Krantz, we're going to start down the end with you. Have any?
I'm fine, thank you.
You are good. I'm glad to hear that. Eddie Hopkins.
Just too quick, we had an employee injured on the job today, and we also had a police officer involved in a not a minor accident, but an accident crash, not accident, crash, in front of Town Hall. Just keep both of them in their thoughts. The Department of Public Works employee is actually still in the emergency room.
I do have an update on that, Ed.
Oh, okay.
We originally thought that our team member broke his ankle or foot, and it has come back negative. He did not break a bone. He is home resting now and has to see a doctor tomorrow, but it's good news.
Gave us a little bit of a scare.
Yep.
So, and the officer was minor injuries.
And how about the other
Great.
person involved in the accident?
And
It
crash.
was
Minor,
Minor accident
Yeah,
for
minor
everybody?
injuries, yes,
Okay, that's
ma'am.
good.
shook up.
That would shake
Right.
anybody up. Not
Yep.
a good way to start the day, but that's why we call them accidents, except in the police lingo, in which they're crashes. Just happens every once in a while. All right. Liz, you want to say anything?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Kevin? Angela? All right. I wanted to thank you, Angela, for the weekly reports. I find them very good to keep an eye
Love
on,
'em.
just be aware of what is going on around in town. So,
I concur.
yeah.
Love them.
Steve Klein? You're good?
I'm good, man.
Chief?
Yep.
All right. Commissioners' comments?
We had a great event this morning, Coffee with Cop. A little bit outside town limits, but that's okay. We were always happy to share the BAPD with everybody who would like to be evangelized too. So that was wonderful. And I'm sure I won't be the only one to say that the Christmas parade was also wonderful, as always. It is one of those moments, perhaps even more so than the 4th of July parade, because the 4th of July parade is such a large spectacle where small town Bel Air really does shine at the Christmas parade, and maybe that's the the Hallmark holiday movie talking in me that makes it feel like that's our small town day to shine. But I really do. So a hearty congratulations to all 3,000 plus individuals who touched the parade in some way. It's just an astronomical number, and it's wonderful that our community comes together in that way.
Yeah, the parade was a great event. I know I read Michael Blum's letter to the editor, and he doesn't take enough credit for himself, because he does a lot of work throughout the year. So I want to say, a big thank you to Mike Blum and his wife, because I know they do put in tireless hours getting volunteers lined up and things set up. So that's what makes the event great. And but with his hard work and Director Klein, I liked your entry into the I had to seek it out before it wasn't in the normal line. They were all off to the side there, and because I know we were in the front, we weren't going to be able to see it till the end, but I'm like, I want to get a peek preview. I want to get a preview of this thing. So that was a great event.
My staff had a really great time putting
Yeah.
that together, and they just really loved to be a part of the parade and loved to see the kids'
Yeah.
faces. And they had a great time doing it. Thank you.
I don't see why you didn't get first prize. I didn't see it in the awards there, but
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah, we
What's
got
that?
first last year.
you got first last year.
Yeah.
I know. So maybe they didn't want too many repeats, but anyway.
Chief, anything to say?
No, ma'am.
All
No,
right.
just glad everything went well.
All right, well, I'm
Smooth.
going to say that the Christmas parade was fabulous. Thank you to everybody that came out to watch the parade. It was cold, but it wasn't that terrible. I was amazed at the number of people that were out there
Yes.
sitting. It has gotten to be like so much
It's
larger than
enormous.
it originally was a few years ago.
I think
It's
that
amazing.
was the largest crowd.
It
I've
might have been.
It was like 4 or 5 people deep,
It
all the
was
way down
huge.
Main Street.
And they had marked their,
You know?
chairs and
Right.
their blankets and everything were taped down
Yeah.
early, so it's become very popular. I can't wait to see the numbers from the train garden too, because last year, I think the train garden was like over 14,000, over 12,000, which is more than the population of the town. So that is amazing to have that kind of number of people go through the train garden. I've gotten some compliments about Thomas Street. I have a resident who wants me to give her a call back because she's so happy with how Thomas Street turned out. So it is beautiful and people really appreciate it. And somebody actually wants it somewhere else, so I'll have to talk to you about that, Steve.
Madam Mayor, just one word. I don't know if you were given the information. The lights have been installed, but the wiring has not. So they
Well,
were
people
working
are-
on the wiring today. So hopefully in the next couple days we'll
That-
get the lamps illuminated.
I'll
That'll
get-
really make
I'll
a
get
nice
more
touch.
calls. That'll
Yeah.
be just fabulous. But now we have a request to do it in some other location, so you've been wildly successful. Gavin and I also attended the law enforcement graduation for our two new officers. It was a really wonderful, and I know Chief, you were there. It was a really wonderful ceremony. They had the bagpipers there, which I think really adds, to something, as the band did. And thank you to the band for the Christmas parade performance afterwards at the band shell. Without the music, it is just not the same. To have them there playing all the Christmas songs was just terrific. And the law enforcement graduation was great. And we got a big compliment because the sheriff asked us both, told us both afterwards that he recognized the Marine Corps pin on both of the new officers. And he asked them why they joined the Bel Air Police Department instead of the sheriff's office. And the answer was Nick Rhodes had recruited them.
Yep.
So he said now he needs to hire those two young officers and steal Nick Rhodes. So keep an eye on that. There's competition out there for good police officers, and you guys do. You have like your own recruiting department,
Yeah.
because I know many of the officers have come and then brought somebody else with them. So that really speaks to what a nice team you've built there and the camaraderie that they have, which makes a huge difference in being able to hire police officers. That's really key.
We're doing very well with recruiting right now. I'm very happy with the direction that we're going. And I do have to say that the graduation ceremony was excellent. Very happy and appreciative of the sheriff's office for extending the partnership with us to go up and train with them and to bring great police officers back to the town of Bel Air. So
Absolutely, you're
yeah.
doing a great job. So
Yeah.
we also had coffee with a cop this morning. That were all four of us there? All four of us were there this morning, and it did scare one of the patrons because when she came in the door and saw all the police gathered, she was like, and the woman running the cash register said it's coffee with a cop. It's come in and get your coffee. It was fine. It was a couple of people had that comment, but it was very well attended by the sheriff's office and the Bel Air Police Department, and it was really a great event. I know it was at the request of Mr. Tom Fraley, who is the district the regional
district manager, yep.
for the Bel Air stores, which includes that one up in Conowingo as well as the one near Moore's Mill and Hickory or Conowingo, and the one that the 7-Eleven that sits right in town on US Route 1. So those are his 3 stores, and he said they're all really great, and it's a great community. And he was really surprised and pleased at the great turnout. So that was very nice. And certainly I hope that our public works worker is feeling better.
Yep.
I won't disclose the identity of the Grinch, but I thought that was like the most fabulous costume I've ever seen, and you guys had like a terrific. The truck was just fabulous, and the golf cart falling behind it. Obviously, they were all having a great time, and they tooted the horn, and the kids really loved it, and it was really great. And certainly hope that everybody that was involved in that little accident this morning is feeling better and will be recovered. So.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one more public announcement. Hanukkah in the Park is this Sunday evening
Okay.
at 5 o'clock, and we missed it on the calendar, but Sunday evening at 5 o'clock.
All right. Well, thank you for that addition to our events.
And we do turn our lights off so that the lights, the attention is focused on Hanukkah. So our lights will be off on Sunday.
I'm sure it'll be a great time. All right. Any other commissioners' comments?
I just would say the parade was great. Saturday, they shut down Main Street for the Wonderland. I saw a lot of our staff there. I saw Eddie and Kevin, Angela, Lisa was there. She was working the bar tap, so that was great, the Chris Kindle Market. And then all four of us, we spoke at the public hearing for the water rate. So it's a very significant, rate increase. So I think we're going to get started working on submitting some written testimony as well.
We are definitely going to be drafting some written testimony, and I'm glad you brought that up because I did forget to mention that, and that is very important. And we're also going to put out something on social media to, make town residents aware. I think many people are not aware of the rate increase and the fact that they can, even though the public hearing, there's another one actually in Severn, but it's December 15th, Monday, if anybody wants to drive that far. But because the one locally has already been, you can still submit written comments through the portal or via the mail. So we will be trying to get that information out to the public so they can participate. I understand from, I think it was Blaise Sedney who said that the last time there was a full room. And he is also going to assist us in some of the financial aspects, since that is his area of expertise. But we're working on a group effort to file some written comments in addition to the comments that we made at the hearing the other day. And we were also this week at the Bel Air Rec Council's
I was going to.
annual party where they gave out their awards, and they have people that have served for as long
40
as 40 years as a volunteer. I was amazed. And, really, that's what makes the town so great. We have so many volunteers. You could never do all this without all the volunteers, and we really appreciated the invite, too, to come and join them the other evening. But it was a great time. They're a great group, and I really appreciate all that they do for everybody.
Right. They do a lot of great things for the community. They had over 12,000 enrollees that, into programs, and people in the programs. They're, with over $2 million in revenue that they brought in to run those programs for the registration fees and all. So, and that's not just kids. That's kids to adults, the whole spectrum and all. And they just they make a difference, and they're really a treasured community in town. So anyway,
Yeah, it was
great night.
Great
Great night
evening.
for that. Yep.
Great evening. All right. Anything else? In that case, may I have a motion to go into closed session?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that this portion of the meeting will be closed under the provisions of the Maryland Open Meetings Act, General Provisions, Article 3, Section 305B1 and 7. The topics of discussion will be to discuss the appointment of officials to the town boards, commissions, and committees, and to discuss with counsel to obtain legal advice concerning amendments to development regulations in Maryland State Senate Bill 215. The reasons for closed session discussion of the above topics will be because public discussion of candidates' names, qualifications, experience, and background could discourage people from volunteering for public service or compromise their privacy rights, and because public discussion of confidential information and legal strategies can compromise the attorney-client privilege and inhibit the ability of the public body to receive candid and uninhibited legal guidance.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion of the motion? In that case, we are going to vote. Mr. Krantz?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the vote to go into closed session. Commissioner Chismar,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanley,
Aye.
and Chair Edding.
Aye. And just for the members of the public watching at home, we will not be conducting any further business in public, but will be adjourning after our closed session.